Hello guys, CraftyCritter here, and on behalf of 1UP Collectibles, I'm going to be bringing you today Gunship First Strike. Now this game was funded through Kickstarter, and basically what it is about is you are in an intergalactic battle against another force. In this case, I guess you want to call it red versus blue. There's actually an interesting sort of backstory to this that I won't get into, but they've put a lot of thought and effort into this game, and I really hope I do this review justice because I, for one, personally like this. I like a lot of games that revolve around space, but what it is you are just trying to destroy your opponent's assault carrier. That is how the game is won, by destroying your opponent's assault carrier. Now, you have a few means to do this. You have your gunship, which is actually, I would say, the focus of pretty much the focus of the game, because you can outfit it with weapons, you can repair it. It's basically the bread and butter of the game, if you really want to call it that. But basically over here, on your assault carrier, you have a spin down die, a D12. And that D12 is on the first space right here. Now, these are shields for your assault carrier. Every time your assault carrier takes a hit, you move one more space. And when you get to here, that's when you breach the shields and you get to the hole. Now once you get down to there, all damage assigned to the assault carrier spin down. 11, 10, 9, until you completely take away all the health on the assault carrier, and that wins you the game. Now, in order to deal damage to that assault carrier, you are going to have to assault it with your gunship. Now, your gunship is going to be outfitted with various means of attacking your other opponent's gunships or fighters, which will get in the way. The fighters, seen here, will be a little bit of a nuisance. They are going to interrupt your gunship, they're going to interrupt your opponent's fighters, they're going to get in the way of them. And basically, the more fighters you have, the more damage you can actually do to your opponent's gunship or their fighters. Fighters can actually directly attack the carrier itself. It can defend carriers, it can defend the gunships, and it can do a variety of things, which I kind of like that idea. They're the annoying little gnats of your fleet that are defending and attacking, and I like the feel of it. So, now the gunships, you can outfit them with a variety of weaponry. There's actually only technically 3. There is the ion cannon, there is the thruster bomb, and there's the blaster cannon. Now, ion cannons. Ion cannons deal ionized damage. Ionized damage basically goes directly through shields and basically cripples one part of your opponent's gunship. Thruster bombs can only be used on opponent's carriers. They're pretty much a one-time use. You can actually retreat back to your assault carrier and reload your thruster bombs, but there is a potential for them to do massive, massive damage to your opponent's assault carrier. And you also have blaster cannons. Blaster cannons can be used against enemy fighters and can be used against enemy gunships. It cannot be used to attack the enemy assault carrier. Only torpedoes, which all gunships have and cannot be modified, and the thruster bombs if they are equipped to your gunship. Now let's get down to basic setup. Basic setup is where you're going to outfit your gunship with the weapons it is going to need to defeat your opponent. At first, for the basic setup, what you do is you deploy your 3 shield cards on your gunship's shield generator. So you take your 3 shield cards right here. You have 3 shield cards. Place them on your shield generator, which is number 4 on your gunship. The numbers on your gunship actually do matter. When damage is rolled, it is rolled randomly. So say I rolled a 7, it would damage the left wing weapon. Once you have deployed your shields, your opponent does the same. Now you place your fighter squadrons in a good location where you can actually see them, which I have already pre-done. You place 2 carrier boards. You also place your 2 gunships, well, your 1 gunship and your opponent's gunship, and your fighters as well. Then you place the 12-sided die on the last entry of the shields of the carriers, and place the dice in a place where you can reach them. Now, let's outfit those gunships. Those gunships, basically what you do is you take your list of cards here, and you take a look at what you have. You can outfit your gunship with all blaster cannons, all ionized cannons, 2 thruster bombs, I mean whatever you really want to do, but you only have a left side weapon pod, a right side weapon pod, a right side wing weapon, and a left side wing weapon. So what you want to do is you want to take a look through these. These wing cards I'm actually pretty impressed with because you can only put them on the wings, but this is the ion cannon. It actually lines up with the wing, if you can see that. So it's kind of a nice thematic feel that you can actually see the weapon on the ship. It's kind of a nice little touch. I appreciate that a lot. It doesn't take you out of the theme, which I kind of enjoy. You also have the ion cannon here for the left weapon port. As you can see, there's an L here, so you don't get confused. R on the other side, of course. So that would go here if you put the ion cannon over on that side. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the recommended setup, which is a balance. I'm going to put an ion cannon here. Going to put thruster bombs here. Going to put blasters here and here. So now my ship is outfitted. I have thruster bombs, I have an ion cannon, I have 2 blaster cannons. And your opponent does the same. He chooses whatever he wishes. You can actually change these later on in a phase where you dock your gunship onto your carrier. You can actually change the weapons around, which is kind of nice. I like that idea where it's not permanent at all. Once you have done that, you assign these 3 armor right here to any 3 sections of your ship that would be attacked. Say you wanted to armor your torpedo launcher. If your shields are down and you take hits, if you take a hit to that armored section, that armor plate goes away. So it saves your area from actually being damaged. I'm going to armor my torpedo, going to armor my engines, and I'm going to armor, for sake of ease, power generator, because you can see all 3. Now we're going to talk about the main deck, which is located right here. This main deck is going to pretty much be used the entire game. You're going to use it to damage, you're going to use it to evade attacks, you're going to use it to repair, you're going to use it to basically do pretty much everything in this game. So the main deck is very important. There's a lot of cards in the main deck that I'm going to go over right now very briefly, really quick. When you draw cards on your turn, which I'll explain in a little bit, you're going to have one of these cards. You're going to have a hit card, which is going to be used to deal damage to deal damage to fighters or gunships. And if you see down here, it says requires a blaster cannon. You can only play hit cards if you have a blaster cannon available. Here is an ionized card. Ionized requires, surprise, ion cannon. A torpedo, which can only be used to attack a carrier, requires torpedo launcher in the front. Evasive action, basically what this allows you to do is you play it in response to an opponent's hit that evades that hit. You also need at least 1 engine to do so. If your engine is damaged, you cannot evade because your ship is somewhat crippled in a way, so it cannot make the evasive maneuvers. Critical damage, used to play after you make a hit. Basically it doubles the damage, as you can see, +1 damage to hit location. A bullseye, instead of rolling randomly for the hit, you play bullseye, and that allows you to choose the hit location or allows you to do a long-range shot. A long-range shot, normally you can only attack things in the same area that you are in, but a long-range shot would be if I wanted to attack my opponent's fighters which were in the assault area. That would be a long-range shot. Damage control, which in the repair phase removes 1 hit of light damage, or you can add a shield level which requires a shield generator, so if it's damaged you can't regenerate your shields. And slagged. After after your opponent takes heavy damage, which is 2 hits to a single area, you can play Slagged. That component of that ship cannot be repaired for the rest of the game. It is beyond damaged. It is totally scrapped. And those are all the cards that you will see as you play from the main deck. Now let's get to actual gameplay. There's a few phases in this game. There's the initiative phase, the carrier phase, the draw phase, the fighter phase, the gunship phase, the repair phase, and the discard phase. It's not as difficult as it seems. It may seem a little overwhelming at first, but as soon as you play a few hands, it's actually not so overwhelming. The first thing you do is the initiative phase, which is really simple. You and your opponent roll the d8, and you see who goes first. So blue gets a 6, red gets a 3. So blue would go first this turn. That's initiative. Very simple. Now we get to the carrier phase. It's pretty much, you do these things simultaneously at the same time. Carrier phase, basically what you do is you take a look, the person who won initiative takes a look at the top card of the draw deck. So he takes a look at this. It's a slagged card. So, if you'll see here, there's a little symbol saying ×2 with a little damage icon here. This is how many hits your opponent's assault carrier takes during the carrier phase. So, basically what I just did is I dealt 2 damage to my opponent's assault carrier. So I come over here, move this 1, move it 2. So I dealt my opponent's assault carrier 2 damage. My opponent does the same thing for me. Pulls a card, take a look at the hit. It's just a single damage marker. So my assault carrier takes 1 damage. So I move the shield 1. That's the initiative and carrier phase. Now, the person who went first, actually let me show you. There's actually 3 cards that you can pull during the carrier phase. 1 damage, that little damage icon right there. 2 damage, as you can see, and no damage. So you either do 1, 2, or no damage to your opponent's assault carrier. After the initiative and carrier phases, you have the draw phase. What you do in the draw phase is you draw cards until you have 5 cards in your hand. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I just drew 5 cards. These cards allow me to, as I said earlier, damage your opponent, deal damage to their carrier, attack fighters, do so forth and so on. Now, what I drew a hit, I drew a slagged, and I drew 3 evasive actions. That's interesting. But with these cards, I will now be able to do things with my gunship against my opponent's carrier, or other gunship, or even their fighters. Now we move on to the fighter phase. Now the fighter phase is very short, but I think it's one of the more exciting things in the game itself. Now during the fighter phase, what you can do is, if there are 2 fighters in the same area, like so, what you can do is you can engage the enemy fighters in a dogfight. So what you would do is you would do this. That is one of the options. Another option is, if your opponent does not have any fighters in the area that he is currently in, if your opponent's gunship is unprotected, you may attack their gunship directly. You may also, if an enemy gunship moves into an area where your fighters are, your fighters may get a free strafing run on that gunfighter, or on that gunship. My apologies. Now, what you may also do is, it's blue's turn, so during the fighter phase, what he does is he takes his fighters and he puts them next to his opponent's fighters, because he's going to engage his opponent in a dog fight. Now you take a look at all your ships here. All your ships have a little dice icon here. For every 3 ships you have, you get to roll 1 die. So you have 4 ships, 4 sets of 3 available, so you roll 4 dice against your enemy ships in a dogfight. So what you're looking for is these little ship icons. Roll the damage. Okay, we have 1 ship right here. So what we do is we take a little damage marker here and we put it on the ship to indicate that one of their ships has been blown up. Show you what that looks like right here. just like that. Once all 3 are filled out, then you're only doing 3 dice, and so on and so forth until your entire fighter squadron is gone. But now that blue has decided to attack red in a dogfight, red now gets to retaliate against blue. So red looks at his fighter squadron. He has 4 dice to roll, all 4. His attack was a little bit better, if you can see right there. 2 white dice. Blue comes away a little worse for wear out of that one. Loses 2 ships in his squadron. And that's the fighter phase. After the fighter phase, we get to the gunship phase, and this is the fun phase for me. Basically what you have is you have 3 actions. You can do one of a few things during those turns, but each takes up 1 action. You can move 1 zone, which takes 1 action, but you can only move twice per 1 turn. So if I were to move my gunship here, that's 1 action. And then if I were to dock it, that's another move action. But I could also move into my opponent's assault carrier, make an attack run as another action, and then move out, because that was only 2 moves. So that's movement. You can also attack an enemy fighter squadron, which I could send a barrage against their enemy fighters. I can attack an enemy gunship, which means I can send a volley of ion cannons, blaster cannons, or whatever at my opponent's gunship. I can make an attack run on an enemy carrier, which I just showed you, and you can land inside a friendly carrier that counts as a move. Now, you can complete those in any order that you wished. So if I wanted to, I could attack the gunship, I could then attack the fighters, and then I can move back here. That's 3 actions. You get less actions if your power generator takes damage. If your power generator has 1 hit, you can only take 2 actions, and if it has heavy damage, which is 2 hits, you can only take 1 action a turn, because your ship is slower now. Now, for my first action, I'm going to attack, say, we're going to attack the enemy gunship. So, I have in my hand the cards that I drew earlier in my draw phase. I can't play this yet, and these are more defensive action, but I have a hit card, and I do have blaster cannons. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to declare my attack on the gunship, and I'm going to place this next to my blaster cannon to show that my blaster cannon is doing this hit. Now my opponent has no cards, so therefore he has no real defense. So that hit goes off, and that hit is cancelled out by one of his shields. So you take one of his shields off, place it to the side. This hit is then discarded, and that was my first action. Now I really can't do anything else with these cards in my hand. So for my other 2 actions, I don't have to take them all. So I'm going to retreat. No, you know what? I'm just going to stay there. I'm just going to stay there, and that's my gunship phase. So now we get to the repair phase. If I had repair phases in my hand, I could actually repair light damage, or I could repair my shields on my ship. But I don't have any of that. So we get to the discard phase. Now, in the discard phase, I can discard up to 1 card. If I didn't play any of my cards in my hand during my turn, I can discard 2. But I don't like having all these evasions at my hand, and that eats up slots I could have for hits, torpedoes, ion cannons for later. So I'm going to take one of my cards here and discard it. And that's the discard phase. As soon as I am done, my opponent now draws 5 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now he has, all of his actions, a second chance, which allows a reroll of up to 4 dice, which is really powerful. Evasive action, hit, and damage control. So he's going to take his phase now. The initiative phase and the carrier phase are redone once it comes back to the person who had initiative first. So as soon as Red's turn is done with the discard phase, we then roll initiative again, and then we proceed through the turns once more. So Red went and drew cards. Now it's fighter phase. Red can withdraw his fighters, or he can take a shot at Blue's fighters, as a dogfight, which he is going to do right now. Red has 4 dice available for attacking. He's going to attack. 2 blue go down. So blue loses 2 ships. Blue's fighters are now down to 3 dice. So now blue gets to retaliate, but he only has 3 dice to do so now because he only has 3 groups of his squadron remaining. And he gets no hits. So that's the fighter phase. Gunship phase. During Red's gunship phase, Red is going to attack the blue carrier this time. He's going to play his 1-hit card, which requires a blaster cannon. Plays it on his blaster cannon, but blue has an evasive action. Blue cancels out that hit by discarding the evasive action. That hit is negated. Red decides, I'm going to keep my gunship there as well. So it now moves to the repair phase. Red has a damage control card. That damage control card allows him to remove 1 hit of light damage or add 1 shield level. He's going to repair his ship and add 1 shield level. So he has 1 shield level back to his ship. He has a second chance, 2 evasive actions. He's actually going to discard 1 of his evasive actions, and that's the end of his turn. Now once the discard phase is done, we roll initiative once again. At the start of turn 2, we roll initiative again. Blue gets a 4, Red gets a 7. Red goes first this time. Red, for the carrier phase, flips over a card. 1 hit of damage on the carrier. Blue loses a shield on his assault carrier. Blue flips a card over for the carrier. Blue scores a direct hit with his carrier on the opponent's carrier. So Red is slowly losing. Red now goes. Red draws up to his remaining cards. He had an evasive action and a second chance before. On his draw phase, he draws 1, 2, 3 cards. This is actually very good, because now he has drawn a critical damage, a torpedo, and a bullseye. Now, what Red is going to do during his fighter phase is he's going to press Blue even harder, because Blue can only roll 3 dice. Red is still rolling 4, so he's going to go directly after Blue's fighters. No hits, unfortunate for Red. Blue gets a retaliatory strike. Ooh, retaliates very well. 2 white ships. So, Red actually loses 1 of his squadron. Red leader down. Now we move on to the gunship phase for Red. Red is actually going to take a swipe at Blue's carrier. He's got the cards to do it. He has a torpedo. He can do this. Red is going to take a move action. He's going to move in. And then his second action, he's going to take a pass at the opponent's carrier. Now, before that red gunship gets a pass at the blue carrier responds by shooting at the gunship with 4 dice. What we're looking for here is we are looking for these symbols. I rolled 1 of them. This is a hit. You want to look for these and these. This is 1 hit. That's 2 hits. We only rolled 1 hit. So the red shield is taken off. Now, in that phase, Red could have used his evasive action to ignore that hit. However, he has 3 shields. He feels pretty confident about it. He's going to save that for when he gets critical damage against him. Or potential for critical damage from an enemy gunship. So now that the opponent's carrier has taken that pass, gunship can now play his cards. He can only play 1 torpedo a turn, so Red is going to torpedo the enemy carrier. He's also going to play critical damage, basically making that 2 hits on the enemy carrier. So that is going to go boom, boom. 2 hits to the blue enemy carrier with that run. Red still has 1 action remaining. He is going to swing back into open space, so he isn't caught out to dry when Blue brings his fighters back. Blue could take a free pass at him if he brought his fighters back while Red was here vulnerable without Red's fighters as an escort. Red now has these three cards. He's gonna keep them around, and he's going to pass repair phase, pass discard phase, and now Blue's turn. Draw a card, draw a card, draw a card. We have a Slagged, a Torpedo, a Bullseye, an Evasive Action, and a Hit. So, Blue is going to take his turn, his fighter phase. He is going to press Red's fighters. He's going to keep those fighters coming. No hits. Red takes a swing back, because that's a dogfight. No hits either. So now it's Blue's gunship phase. Blue decides, you know what I'm going to do? I have torpedoes as well. I'm going to take a swing at Red's gunship as well. So, take one move. His second action is going to be attacking the Red gunship. He's going to take a torpedo. He's going to swing the torpedo. Oh, sorry. I got ahead of myself a little bit. Red's carrier gets a free shot. One hit. He's actually going to evade that hit with an evasive action. And now Blue is going to torpedo. And he's actually going to deal a little bit more damage because he's going to... Whoops. Make sure this is... Can also slag it as well for an extra damage. So that's an attack run. He's dealt 1 damage, 2 damage, so that's 2 damage right here. And that is gone. So he now has a bullseye and a hit left. He's going to save those. Passes repair phase, passes the discard phase. He's going to keep his ship there because he's confident he's going to get a little bit more because he's going to lead with thruster bombs next turn. So, now we're back up to the initiative. Now I moved a little bit ahead in the game to show you what it's like a little later on when things start to get a little bit more dangerous. Red's taken a few hits to his sectors, and Blue's taken a few hits as well, and is also ionized over here, and we'll get to that in a little bit because we haven't covered ionization yet. So we're going to do initiative right now. Blue, 4, Red, 2. Blue goes first, carrier phase. Blue gets a bullseye. That's 2 damage to the Red carrier. 1 hit moves to Red's hull on the assault carrier, and now you start ticking down on the 12. 12 goes to 11. Red's turn to fire on Blue. 1 hit. The shields are down on the assault carrier as well. Now Blue draws up to 5 cards. He has no cards currently. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's unfortunate. All 5 hits. Now, as you can see, one of Blue's blaster cannons is actually damaged. So he's not going to be able to use both of his blasters. He's only going to be able to play 1 hit on one attack turn. So Blue's fighters are going to fly in and engage Red's fighters. Blue has 3 fighters remaining. Ooh, 2 hits on Red's fighters. Boom, boom. Red gets to respond. He still has at least 1 fighter left in that group, so he still gets 3 dice. Oh, he returns volley with 2 hits. Blue just lost another squadron. Blue's down to 2 dice with his fighters. Blue's gunship phase. Blue is actually going to shoot at the enemy fighters. So in this case, he's going to play a hit card right there. And in that case, he's going to roll 1 die against the fighters, and he has to roll a ship. He did not. That is a failure. Blue, sensing danger, is going to retreat, 1 action, and dock. That's 1 action. So he has done all 3 of his actions. Now, that the gunship phase is over, repair phase comes in. Now, a few things happen when you're docked on your repair phase. You can actually repair a whole bunch of things. You have 3 repair actions on your turn when you're docked for your gunship. You can remove 1 hit of light damage, remove 1 ionized card, restore 1 shield, restore 1 armor, move 1 armor, remove a weapon, or add a weapon. Or you can actually spend all 3 of your repair actions to remove 1 heavy damage card or replace a wing that has been destroyed. So in Blue's case, Blue is going to remove the ionized. He's going to remove the hit here. He's going to remove the hit here. Now, if Blue did not remove that ionized, let's say he didn't. He kept that ionized on. He just kept the ionized. So he removed the 2 hits. And for his 3rd, he's going to restore shield because he still has his shield generators up. Now, at the end of a target's repair phase, if a gunship is ionized, that ionized card moves to a random area on that gunship. So it's the end of his repair phase. It moves to number 3, the blaster cannon. That ionized is going to keep moving around until that ionized is repaired. That's the advantage of the ionized card. You can ionize another gunship that has shields up, and the ionized just keeps moving around that ship, causing all sorts of havoc. Now, if an ionized reaches a power generator, bad things happen. The ship basically shuts down, and you have to spend turns repairing it. So that's Blue's repair phase. His discard, he's actually going to discard 1 hit, so he has 3 hits remaining. Red's turn, he draws cards, 5 cards. Wow. Good shuffling. 3 damage control, 1 torpedo, and an evasive action. Red is actually docked right now. So his fighters are going to continue to push the assault because Blue's fighters are actually feeling pressure. 2 damage against Blue's fighters. Blue's fighters retaliate. He still has at least 1 ship left in a squadron, so he gets 2 dice. He gets 1 hit on Red. Red's 2nd squadron is defeated, so Red is down to 2 dice. Red is going to skip his gunship phase, and he's going to go right into the repair phase. So he's going to repair the hit, and restore shield. So that's what he does. Now, Red could have also restored 1 armor. He could have moved the armor around, but Red chose to restore the shields and take care of the hits. Now that Red is done, he can discard a card. Now, Red did not play any cards, so he can actually discard 2 cards this turn. So he's going to discard 2 damage controls. And that's the end of the phase, so it goes back to initiative. Now we're a little bit later in the game again, and as you can see, the red gunship is getting absolutely destroyed. He has a couple hits on him. So does the blue. He also has an ionized on him as well. The assault carriers are taking a little bit of damage, but now we are going to explain what happens when you start taking heavy damage. So we're going to roll initiative, a 5 for blue, and a 1 for red, so blue goes first again. The carrier phase, we're going to 1 ionized, right there. So we have 5 there. And then we have torpedo for red against blue. So there you go. Now, take our cards. Blue, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Goes back. Now what we have here, we have a mess for red. Red has no cards in his hand, so he cannot evade this attack. Blue's power generator is still good, so we have three actions here. So what Blue's going to do, Blue is going to attack with his fighters against Red's fighters. So Blue still has 2 dice. No hits. Red has 2 dice against Blue. No hits, so we're good there. Now we're at the gunship phase. Blue's going to take his first action to attack red gunship. Blue's going to hit with a blaster cannon, hit with a blaster cannon, and he's actually going to do critical damage on each. Now, the way critical damage is done basically adds 2 damage when you attack. Basically what happens is, now I don't have any bullseyes, so I can't pick the location, so I have to roll a die. We have 1 through 8, so we're going to roll 3. The blaster cannon takes 1 hit, and because of critical damage, it turns into 2 hits. So that's heavy damage on that blaster cannon. basically makes that completely useless. That cannot be repaired in the repair phase unless you are docked and take 3 repair actions to fix that heavy damage. That blaster cannon is completely wiped out for this fight. Now, that's negated. The other hit is going to 6. Where is 6? 6 is the engine. So this is a good example of how armor protects you. That hit against the engine takes the armor off, but the second hit for critical damage actually goes on. So there is that. That gunship phase is over. Now it's the repair phase for Blue. Blue has no repair cards in his hand. Discard phase, he's going to discard that torpedo because he knows Red's taking a hell of a lot of damage. Now it's Red's phase. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now Red has a choice. He has 2 hits, a torpedo, and a bullseye. Now, what Red can do, Red can attack Blue with an ionized, which I completely forgot about. At the end of Blue's repair phase, he should have checked for this ionized. So, it's actually going to go to number 4, shield generator. So his shields are down. Which is very nice, actually, for Red, because that means he is able to attack Blue completely wide open now. So Red is going to take that opportunity. He only has 1 blaster cannon, so he's going to hit with a blaster cannon, and he's going to not use his ion cannon because it has a hit. He can't use his ion cannon. He's getting very crippled right now. But Red has a bullseye. Red's going to play bullseye. He's going to pick where that attack is going to, and he's actually going to attack this right here. So he is going to place this right here, so that 1 hit turns to 2 hits and becomes heavy damage, and if I'm not mistaken, wings are removed if heavily damaged. So that heavy damage, boom, blows that wing completely off. That can only be repaired at the base with 3 repair actions on that turn. That's how heavy damage is done. Now, for ships, a ship can take up to 12 damage on its hull. Now, if I were to attack Red a few more times, say hit his shield generator a few more times, it would turn to heavy damage. Then every damage that would be assigned to the shield generator would be another hit to the hull. You keep adding hits. The whole hits on a gunship cannot be repaired. So as soon as there are 12 total hits on a gunship, that gunship is scrapped. It's done. It's blown up. And the assault carrier is pretty much free game. So there you have it. A few rounds of gameplay from Gunship First Strike. I hope you enjoyed watching a few rounds being played. I tried to include as much as I could without going too much in depth, but pretty much fighter combat, gunship combat, and carrier combat. Very simple. The gunships are pretty much the focus here with what the amount of stuff you can do to them. You can repair them, you can change the weapons, armor them, you can do all sorts of stuff. The fighters, once they're destroyed and out of the game for good. If a gunship has 12 or more hits on it all over the ship, not counting the wings. That's the only exception, not counting the wings. So hull hits and any other hits if it has 12. Like here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 7 hits on the ship right there. If it gets 5 more, that ship's completely scrapped and out, basically leaving the assault carrier completely vulnerable. And as soon as the assault carrier goes down to 1 and then is blown up with 1 last hit, the game is completely over. So you can destroy the gunships and the fighters and their assault carriers, pretty much open for fair game. I really do enjoy this game. There's a lot of strategy actually involved with positioning, defense with your fighters, because then they can't come over. They would get a free swing, and then when you run an attack run on the assault carrier, that would also get free attacks. So you have to balance offense with defense in this game a lot. Gunships, you can outfit it all with blaster cannons if you really wanted to. All ion cannons if you really wanted to ruin your opponent's day. I haven't tried that, but that could be really annoying for your opponent. You can load up with 2 thruster bombs on the back, so when you make attack runs, you can drop your thruster bombs, and every one of these is an additional hit on the carrier. and then you have to go back and refuel or restock your thruster bombs, all that sort of stuff. I really like the theme and how much you have to pay attention to without paying attention to it, if that makes any sense whatsoever. I mean, it almost becomes, without sounding corny, autopilot almost. You're doing this and you're looking at this. You're like, oh, well, these fighters over here, I'm gonna take it back because I'm taking a lot of damage. So you have a lot to think about. And the rules, like the rule book right here. This is the rule book if I actually had it the correct way. The rule book is, these are all the rules in this book. I just skipped a couple pages right there, but all these rules. The rule book is massive. It looks a little daunting at first, but it's an easier game to play if you just sit down and play it, which I found. I sat down with the rules for a couple days and tried to read through them, and I got a little overwhelmed, I guess. But I took it to board game night and sat down with a bunch of people, still not knowing the entire rules. We sat down with 2 other people and we hammered out the rules, and we were playing in probably 5 minutes, 10 minutes maybe, 10 minutes tops. We were hammering out turns left and right. But I really like the theme. The artwork is absolutely amazing. Here we have the green and white ships. I mean, look at the artwork. Look at the detail. The attention to detail on these ships are phenomenal. I mean, you have this. You have the wings on the side, just to borrow Blue's wing for here. I mean, they attach just like they would actually, attach. The fact that you can blow the wings off adds a little bit more theme, I guess, to it. And you don't really need wings in space, so the fact that your ship can actually lose parts and guns is actually kind of exciting and adds another strategic element to it, because if you bullseye a wing, you could attack a wing, deal heavy damage, boom, blows it right off. And that's a couple turns that the opponent has to spend in their hangar repairing that wing, so you actually take their gunship out of the fight for a while. So there's that interesting element of strategy. But all in all, I really, really like this game and how it feels. It's just a good game feel. And I would definitely recommend this game. Again, Gunship First Strike. Seek it out. You can probably find it online. I know 1UP Collectibles stocks it. We just got it in probably a week ago. So look for it there. You can go on the website, order it there. Thank you guys for watching. I'll just add that little wing right there to the ship because it feels probably lonely. Thank you guys for watching. On behalf of 1UP Collectibles, this has been a review of Gunship First Strike. Again, highly recommend this game. And thank you for watching. This has been Crafty. Bye-bye.